Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. I have been following the channel Survival Lily for some time now, and I actually have to say I love that channel. It's been operated by a young lady from Austria, and she is one of the few creators from German-speaking countries that's actually publishing content in the English language. And also she deals with many weapons for survival, knives and bows and everything. And very recently she also received one of my Fenris bows together with the greyback. And she obviously loves it very much, and I totally encourage you to go and have a look at her channel and check out how much she loves a repeating pump-action bow. In any case, she sent me these knives, and as you know, I've always been an avid lover of good quality knives. She sent me these two knives that she has designed in Austria. Now Lily says that if she would be limited to just one knife for the apocalypse or whatever, or for going camping or whatever, she would choose either this one or this one, depending on where she is. So, the APO 1 knives by Survival Lily. Let's review them in a Slingshot channel style. We are starting with the APO 1S, where here APO stands for apocalypse and not for that crazy student movement that we had in Germany in the 1960s. So, although those guys probably could have used the knives too, you never know. In any case, it comes with a Kydex sheath. So that's nice, looks nice also. Very solid with two buttons here, so it's securely in it. If you take it out, you immediately see that this is a utility knife, and it's definitely heavy duty. Blade thickness is like 5 millimeters, so it's a really thick blade. The shape talks business, but it's definitely not a fighting knife. This is a utility knife. There is no false tip, which actually is necessary in knives like this, since they actually tend to make the blade weaker. And you have G10 scales. Those are really, really solid and proper for a knife like this. She also uses AOS 8 steel. It's actually a steel that I think for a survival knife is great. It's a great choice because you can still sharpen it by yourself, since there is no knife in the world that you would not have to sharpen if you take it out there in the apocalypse and use it for years. But on the other hand, it also is very hard. It can be hardened really nice, and it would much rather bend but not break. A broken knife is useless. A bent knife can always be fixed. So therefore, I think Survival Lily really knows her business. I also love that you have these grooves here, because for fine cutting, that is really nice for your thumb, like so. Also, if you look at the shape of the handle, what you can always do is you can hold it with just 2 fingers and your thumb, and this actually makes it far more efficient to hack with it. And chopping is a thing that you do a lot with a survival knife. You can also get this in blackened, but for a survival knife that doesn't really have any tactical purposes, I remember this here because it simply can be retouched at any time. So you can, no matter how much you abuse it, you can typically also get it back into its beautiful original condition. The edge here is hard. It's sharp, so this is not rounded, and this will make it a lot easier to use it with a fire steel, for igniting a fire. So that's also a feature that you find on well thought out utility knives. There is a green liner in between here. I'm not sure if it's really needed. Typically the G10 would just, would be rock solid on it, but I think it's probably done for the looks because it gives a nice contrast. You also have these little thing here where you can attach a lanyard, but I think it's also really nice if you need to use a hammer or a stone to do something with it that you cannot do with your bare hands. So I have to say the design is absolutely perfect. The material has been chosen well. The shape is great. So far it's very promising. Now Lily also sells the smaller version, which is this one here, and this one is the APO 1H. And as you see, it's shorter. Shape is somewhat similar, and the handle as well. So it's really comfortable even for my big hands. So this is really nice. The reason I think why this is shorter is because sometimes you just don't want to carry a large heavy knife, but also because this would be legal to carry in Germany in public without any kind of reason or permit. whereas the larger one, the Apo 1S, you would have to have a reason. While going for camping and hiking definitely would count as a good reason. So if you want to take it on a hike through the woods, then even the longer knife would be fine if you go fishing or something. But this one, of course, is a no-brainer because it's absolutely clear that this can legally be carried in Germany. The smaller knife is also a little bit cheaper. This is 120 euros, whereas the Apo 1S is 138 euros, which I still think is a great price if the knives perform. Because, as you know, here at the Slingshot channel, we take things to the extreme. So these knives will have to endure a lot of stress tests. We will do crazy things with it that probably seem brutal to you, but let's not forget that this is supposed to be a survival knife. And survival knives must really be able to replace pretty much any other tool that is there. So it will see some abuse, and absolutely it's expected that it will be a little bit, like dented and whatever, and it will lose the sharpness because we're going to do crazy things with it. But the test will also include how well we can bring it back to original shape. And in the end, we will then have a verdict if these knives are worth the money Lily is asking for. So, the Apo 1 knives by Survival Lily. Let me show you their features. We're starting with a very easy test, and that is simply some carving. It's not so easy for me to hold this because I had a 2 centimeter piece of a drill bit into this hand, and it only got removed yesterday, so my grip is somewhat subpar at the moment. But anyway, yeah, it cuts really well. Yeah, it's no problem. So definitely not hard to make like a makeshift spear or something like this from it. Very easy cutting. So on to the next thing, hacking. So we have this broken off tree that I will try to chop down with a knife. Let's try the 3-finger method. It is definitely easier. Yeah, we got it. That's a thick piece of wood, and I was able to hack through it with ease, and the blade is absolutely undented and still as sharp as it should be. So for the next test, we'll try to split this piece of firewood with a knife. Of course, the knife is not heavy enough, it's not an axe, so it will be very hard to do this by just hacking on it. But that's what hammers are for. And of course, in outdoor applications, you'd probably use a heavy rock or something. But it doesn't matter. So let's see. Okay, that was a little bit. Ha! Victory! Now, of course, this brutal abuse has shown a little bit of a damage from the hammer blows. That's absolutely expected, and one of the great qualities of the AOS 8. It's not that hard, so as you see, there's no splintering. It just is dented a little bit. It doesn't diminish the usefulness of the edge at all. And the edge has not suffered at all. It didn't roll. It didn't lose any of its sharpness. It's fine, guys. Let's ramp it up a little bit more, and we'll be going over to metal. Aluminum first. Okay, can we carve aluminum with it? We obviously can. Funny smell when you carve aluminum. That was good enough. That was not bad, as you see. It can do that. Of course, as I said, carving, I'm a little bit impaired right now, so I use my vise to make it a little bit tougher. Okay. Because now first let's go into hacking mode. Okay. look at that. I guess with enough time I could really hack myself through it. And now let's look at the edge, where there's of course a lot of aluminum on it. I think I have to kind of clean it off a little bit. Okay. But guys, the edge is still perfect. It hasn't lost any of its sharpness. Wow. Aluminum and tip strength. I'm now performing this for the second time since I forgot to start the camera the first time. So I already know the outcome. Okay, let's give it a go. Good enough for you guys, because it sure is for me. And as you see, I already did this a second time. Let's inspect the tip. Not so easy to get it out. Yeah, of course, aluminum kind of leftovers, but other than that, not a problem at all. The tip is just as new. Now we need to see if it bends easily, and we'll do that by hammering it into this massive chunk of wood, and then we'll try to bend it. All right. Okay, now the tip is in a good way. Now let's see. All right. So I can easily, okay, seems like this is my vice that's kind of giving up on me. So I can easily bend this very hard and it doesn't break at all. Okay, I'm now breaking out the wood here. Okay. Didn't bend on me. It still is super fine. But of course we want to find out if Lily is in fact correct, and when she says that the knife would much rather bend but not break. Since I am unable to do this just with my bodily power, I decided to use a lever. So I'm reusing this X-barrel from the good old Airzuka. That's why it still has the nail in here, so you can't fire anything solid out of it. Because such guns are now banned in Germany, or they require a license. Therefore I disassembled it in due course. Sorry for that, so no more Airzuka ever. Sad. In any case, maybe when I make it to the US after this corona crisis is over, maybe then I can revive the project. But in any case, I'm now going to put this into the piece of wood, deeper than last time, and then I'm going to pull on it using the iron barrel of the Airzuka. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Actually, one of the screws popped out, but I think I can retrieve them and then reattach them easily. Well, such brutal behavior does not come without consequences. Okay, so let's go. Wow. Okay, I think that's all the force I can do. It is bent. See? Lily is correct. The knife has bent. And now I can also see that from all the hammering, you know, one of these screws popped out here, which doesn't mean that the knife is no longer functional. Is it still a beauty? Well, sort of. Poor knife has been through a lot, but it's not over yet, because we'll still have to do the steel test. Yes, that is my target 1mm steel over 12mm plywood. See still some arrows in there from the tests of my 260-pound pistol crossbow. And now we'll do some damage on it. First of all, let's simply hammer away at the steel edge here, like so. Yeah, it's definitely cutting into it. So let's ramp it up a little bit. Okay, as you see, it bit deeply into it. Let's see if we can still penetrate even though the tip is a little bit bent. Okay, we'll do this here. Yes, not a problem. Wow. Guys. Okay, now we can see there is a certain amount of edge damage. I'm not sure if the camera focuses well. Nothing dramatic, but it is a little bit, it suffered a little bit. Poor knife. As you can see, the condition is now still absolutely functional, but the tip is bent a little bit from this brutal thing that we did with it. The entire edge is kind of dirty and a little bit nicked, but not much. One screw is missing, and of course we got some damage at the end here from all this mistreatment. So, the part of the abuse for this knife is over. And it passed with flying colors. This really, well, actually, I'm sure this is probably one of the best knives I've ever seen when it comes to outdoor performance. Now, let's see if we can get it back into proper shape. First, we'll bend back the tip. Cool. Now for the handle part, that wasn't so tough because in fact one screw got lost, and I'll probably find it someday soon. But in any case, it can be replaced. But that's why you're really using 3 screws and not just 2. So you can lose one and it's not a big deal. So I could very easily also move this one into this hole, and then I'll be set for the next decade or something. And it's of course the hammering that does that. Of course the shock and so on. Okay, let's go inside and start the metalwork. It's very good now, I think. So, Survival Lily's Apo 1S knife. What a knife. So, you see, it looks great again. Not brand new, but close enough, if you keep in mind that I've been hammering it through steel and aluminum, that I actually used it to split firewood with it by using a hammer on its blade. I bent it with a huge steel pipe. like stronger than any human being can normally do that with the bare hands. I used it to chop down a small tree, and it's still absolutely functional and beautiful. I can really recommend that knife. And I actually have to say that Lily is right. If I would have to pick one knife of my collection to take for the apocalypse, it's probably this one, because it's just perfectly thought out for the task. So, head over to Survival Lily's shop and also watch her videos, specifically the one about the Fenris. I hope you like this, because that's it for today. Thanks and bye-bye.